journey here at That Journey Chick on Instagram. Don't forget to follow me over on Instagram. And don't forget to hit the like button. He is oft abused. And today, it's Christmas morning, and I didn't let him open any presents.
Oh, no!
That's all right. You were bad. So, if you enjoy the content that I'm going to bring you, please consider subscribing. And don't forget to ring the notification bell, because sometimes I go live. My content is I post daily, the Crafting and Crime Daily Show, where I cover live trials. Just let me tell you a little bit about my channel. I do all kinds of crafting. I go live twice a week on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Central Time, where it's Craft With Me Wednesday. I've been doing this for 3 years, and I bring you all kinds of crafts. Today you're seeing cross stitch. Sometimes you'll see crochet. Sometimes you'll see coloring or diamond painting. I started out as a diamond painting channel, but I have morphed into more of a crafting and crime channel, something to give you to listen to while you're doing those crafts at home. Interesting content. So today on Christmas morning, yes, it's Christmas morning. Sometimes I dance. Have you opened your presents? I haven't. I'm not even awake yet. I'm probably still in bed because it is 6 a.m. where I am. I'm on Central Time. I live in Wichita, Kansas, where right now I'm wearing summer clothes because it's supposed to be 70 degrees today. Christmas Day. No white Christmas for me. No, or my sister who lives with me, who's also very crafty. Right now we're working on a diamond painting together, which is the gingerbread house. And I'll put a link to that up in the eye, here or here, one of those two places. You'll find the link to that unboxing. So right now I'm working on, in cross stitch, I've got a couple of events coming up for next year. One of the events is a cross stitch event. It's a temperature event, and I'm going to be doing a temperature bookshelf. So I'm working on the bookshelf. This in here, it'll say 2022, and then there'll be 12 shelves. Each shelf will have up to 30 books on there. So I'm doing the shelf right now. And the books will all be based on, the color of the book will be based on what is the temperature, the high temperature for the day. So if you'd like to join along, you don't have to do a bookshelf. There's all kinds of temperature projects that you can find over on Etsy for pretty cheap. Just download the pattern. I think somebody's doing a garden. There's a tree that you can do. I love the tree. There's all kinds of them that you can find. I just happen to enjoy the bookshelf. I am doing that with the Crafty Heifer, and on the Craft With Me Wednesday, we get together the last Wednesday of every month, and we'll show you our progress, and we'll show you other people's progress that are participating in that event. The other event that I have going on is called the Ticket to Ride event. This is a very, very different diamond painting event than you're used to. You join through the Facebook group, Ticket to Ride Destination Paris. That's the name of the Facebook group. Join that, ask a couple questions. We'll let you in. Then you fill out a passport application. And we're going to send you on excursions where you will solve puzzles, maybe do scavenger hunts. It may send you over to Instagram, to That Journey Chick on Instagram. It may send you to my YouTube channel. You never know. And you're not going to be able to rely on someone else's answer, because we're going to be using Google Forms for you to submit your answer. If you've answered the puzzle correctly, you earn tickets. And we have a huge amount of sponsors that are donating prizes and discounts to their stores, to their Etsy shops and their online shops for you to enjoy during this event. So head on over. The link is down in the description to the Facebook group. There's all the information you need is within that Facebook group. I have a co-host that's moderating the Facebook group. That's Cheryl Katz. So today's content, I wanted to bring you a true crime story. Why is there a fruitcake sitting on my desk? Because I'm going to tell you about the great fruitcake caper. Now, this is a store-bought fruitcake that I didn't buy it for a prop. I bought it for me because I love fruitcake. But I'm going to tell you this fruitcake story. I was going to make a fruitcake, but apparently there is a shortage of ingredients to make fruitcake. You cannot get dried fruit anywhere in this town. So I don't know if that's exclusive to Wichita or if it's all over the country that nobody got dried candied fruit. Yeah. You know, the candied stuff that you mix into the fruitcake. Can't find it. Anyway, so we're going to talk about the Collin Street Bakery. This is a fruitcake company. They have been baking fruitcakes for 125 years, since 1896. That's when the bakery was founded. It's been in the McNutt family for 3 generations. It's run now by Bob McNutt. Yeah, so let's do some cross-stitching while we talk about the great fruitcake caper. Yes. Let me just make sure where I am. Let me find out. Okay, so this company makes $35 million a year in revenue. Yes, I looked up their fruitcake. Like, this is a 1 pound, like 1.5 pound, 1 pound, 12 ounce fruitcake. The same fruitcake on Amazon from this particular company, the Collin Street Bakery, will cost you $38. Or you can get the 2 pounder for $51. Yeah, that's an expensive fruitcake, but this is the world's best fruitcake. They distribute to 190 countries, this fruitcake company. They're located in Corsicana, Texas, which is this small town. You know, population is less than 23,000, 24,000 people. You know, very small town. There's a lot of old money there. Originally, a lot of the older families, the old money was made in oil, and that later, they were all part of a company that later was bought out by Exxon. So they've got a lot of old money in this town. They do. So, like I said, it was run by the McNutt family for 3 generations. It is the world's largest fruitcake company. I don't know if they had any trouble getting the fruitcake this year, getting the ingredients. That would be interesting to find out. But they will go, this company starts out like off season, you know, like spring, after Christmas. They sell maybe 20, 30 cakes a week. But when fall comes around, they start getting orders. They will crank out 10, 20,000 of these things a day. It's just huge production line, tons of employees. The town makes all their money through manufacturing and agriculture and this fruitcake company. A lot of people in this town are employed by the fruitcake company. So, and you know, I've seen the process where they make these fruitcakes. They put, you know, they mix the dough and they put all that candied fruit in there, and then it comes down. It's put into a round container to bake it, and it goes through this line, and then there's these line of people who are hand decorating the top of this fruitcake with pecans and cherries, and like that's their job. They're just putting cherries on fruitcake all day long. Can you imagine? What do you do for a living? I put cherries on fruitcake. Yeah. So this company, you know, for years, they were having these, they would start the beginning of the year, the executives, and they would, and every company does this, they would anticipate what their revenue is going to be for the year and how much money they're going to have, you know, for raises and to hire people and things like that. And at the end of the year, they wouldn't have what, they weren't making their projections. They were losing money, and they could not figure this out. Why was this happening? So So they got together and they're trying, this is over years. They're trying to figure out what is going on, what is wrong, why are we losing money? First, they tried to cut back on advertising. They thought, well, maybe we're spending too much money on marketing. So they cut back on the advertising. Well, that didn't, they were still losing money. So then they figured, well, maybe there's some computer glitches. So they investigated that, found out, no, there's no computer glitches, so still losing money. Then they said, well, it must be part of the process. Maybe we're wasting ingredients. So they investigated that. Nope, that wasn't the problem. So they go to their comptroller. This is the guy who has control of the money. He writes all the checks. He, he runs the whole accounting system by himself. Yeah. And he's like, okay, I'll see what I can do. I'll look into, let me see if I can figure it out. He comes back and he's like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know why we're losing money. So as a result, there were people in this company that went for years without getting raises. They were having to lay people off. It affected the town because they weren't paying as much in sales, tax on the sales. And so the whole town was affected because they were losing money. Let me tie this off in the back here. We got to get more yarn on the needle. Yarn. I said yarn. I meant floss. I'm so excited to cross stitch again. I had stopped for a while because I couldn't see. I got new glasses this morning and look, I can see again because it was a new prescription. I had gone to the eye doctor and I said, listen, I can't see, and I love to cross stitch and I just can't see it. So can you just give me some magnifiers to put over my regular glasses? He's like, no. When I give you your prescription glasses, you're going to be fine. You're going to be able to see. And he was right. Because he's like, if you still can't see the cross stitch, then I'll give you some magnifiers. But no, I'm really seeing very, very well with these glasses. And they're from Betsy Johnson. Who doesn't love Betsy Johnson? All right, I'm deviating from the story. Why is this fruitcake company losing money? So, so they hire this accounting clerk to come in and go through all of the invoices. So she does. She comes in and she sits down and she starts going through all the invoices. So, and she was like the youngest person in the company, and she was also a black female. So she goes through all these invoices and she said it was on a Thursday. She finds that there's a check that was written for $10,000 to Capital One Bank. She's like, we don't do business with Capital One Bank. Why is there a check written for $10,000? So she goes to her boss, who was Sandy Jenkins, the comptroller, the one who was supposed to investigate why they were losing money and said he couldn't figure it out. So she goes to him. When she tells him about this check, she said his face went white. And he says, oh, that's got to be a mistake. I'll fix it. And he takes the check and he leaves. So she said to herself, no, wait a minute, something's not right about this. That was not the right response. So he leaves that day to go to the doctor, and she goes above his head and she tells someone else. And they said, listen, continue your investigation, keep looking, and let us know if you find anything else. Well, she goes off on her own and does this investigation. She goes like deep into the books, and she keeps going back year after year after year. And she finds that she goes all the way back. This is in 2013. She goes all the way back to 2005, and she finds all of these checks written to people that they didn't even do business with. So what they figured out is that this Sandy Jenkins was paying all of his own bills with the company's money in addition to paying the company's bills. And he had a way that he was doing that I really didn't understand. But it's considered money laundering. Yeah. So she totals it up. And by the time she finishes her investigation, the total amount that he had embezzled from this company was $17 million. Now, they're like, what? Sandy Jenkins, he's like this soft-spoken, unassuming guy. You know, he never bothers anybody. He drives a Lexus, you know, he has a nice car, he dresses nice, but nobody ever suspected a thing. They said, you know, he was a good team member, and you know, he was just one of the boys. Yeah. So they never suspected him. 2005. So what is that? 2005 to 2013, 18 years this went on. 18 years. Yeah. And this is a man who was only making $50,000 a year in his salary. So now this woman, she's worried. She's like, I'm the black woman in the company. Like, I'm the token black woman in this company. And I just implicated my boss in a scheme to embezzle $17 million. So she was like looking over her shoulder. So she reports it, you know, up the chain. They take the checks. They call him in to the office on a Friday, and they show him the checks. Again, he turns white, and they said, you know, we're firing you. We've got, you know, we'll if you go quietly, we've got a police officer downstairs to make sure that you don't come back into the building. We will mail your stuff to you, but you need to leave. So he leaves. And then they take all the stuff that they had found, and they go to the police. So the police were really waiting for them to finish their audit, you know, a complete audit, professional audit of the company. And they did, and it amounted to, the amount of the theft was close to $17 million. Meanwhile, Sandy Jenkins, who lives in this extravagant home, at the time he bought it in 2005, it was like a $200,000 home, so it wasn't that extravagant, but he also had a second home in Santa Fe, New Mexico, that was worth $750,000 that they had just purchased, him and his wife Kay. So the police start looking at this, they start investigating, and they start going through this stuff, and they figure out that the way that he was doing it, he was using the mail system. And because he was using the mail, and he was using wire transfers, the police said, well, this is a federal offense. You know, we need to get the FBI involved. So now the FBI is investigating this Fruitcake company. So the FBI comes out, and they said it was this woman who looked like she was right out of a television show. You know, she looked like, you know, the Law and Order lady. She's coming in, she's investigating. So they are like, you know, we got to figure out, what did he do? What did he do with this money? So they get a search warrant for his house. This is Sandy Jenkins. They get a search warrant for his house. Meanwhile, he has left town. He and his wife are gone. So in this house, he had a grand piano, a wine and liquor collection, and a cedar sauna. So now they've got the trucks. They're pulling up the trucks, the FBI. Now the whole town is like setting up lawn chairs to watch this. They're like, it's a very small town, and everybody knows everybody. And anytime something happens, there's like this phone system. They get on the phone. Hey, you know what's going on over at the Jenkins home? Get over there. You got to see this. So they're lined up in their lawn chairs. They're watching the FBI cart these boxes and boxes of stuff out of his house, including clothes and fur coats and jewelry, and he had a safe, and they were like, we got to get into the safe. So they get into the safe, and they find all of this jewelry. I mean, Rolexes and Van Cleef and Arpels necklaces, and then they're going through Kay's closet and they find these notebooks that she was keeping, where she would handwrite the item that she had purchased and the amount that she had paid for the item, like everything in her handwriting in these detailed notebooks of every expensive thing she owned. And there was a lot of stuff. They had a Jaguar, they had a Lexus, and they had a Mercedes. They found out that he had spent over $2 million at the Lexus dealer. Every year, Kay would get a Lexus. And what she would do is she would demand that it be in the same color as the previous year. That way, nobody would suspect that she was getting a new car every year. People would see it and think, oh, it's the same car. She'd get the same make, the same model, and the same color. One time it came in the wrong color. She said, no, I don't want it. Get me the right color. And they went and got her the right color. And they were taking this plane trips, like just to fuel this plane, wherever they were taking it would be $20,000, $30,000 worth of fuel. But they would purchase to rent this plane was about 50 grand. And one time they took it to Austin, Texas to have a lunch. They said it was an $8,000 lunch to get this plane and go to have lunch in Austin and come back. Yeah. And Austin was like the next town over. So, and then they would fly back and forth to Santa Fe, Napa Valley. One time they invited one of their friends, hey, do you want to go share a villa in Italy with us? And she's like, listen, I make, $40,000 a year. I cannot afford to split a villa with you in Italy. No. So they were just spending money like water. They had an account at Neiman Marcus, and they had buyers that worked for them at Neiman Marcus. And one of the buyers commented that at one point she ran out of things she could sell to Kay Jenkins. There just wasn't any more stuff that she could buy. She had bought everything from Neiman Marcus. So they even had nicknames at Neiman Marcus. They were called him Fruitcake and Cupcake at Neiman Marcus. I never owned anything from Neiman Marcus. No, never. They would go to the Caribbean. They were going all these places on these jets. So, there were people that were asking questions. They're like, wait a minute, we know you don't make that much. So how are you doing this? And he had all these excuses of how he was doing it. He said, oh, I have an uncle who owns a funeral home, and it's his plane, and he lets us use it. He said, I'm a car investor, because they asked him about all these nice cars. Oh, I'm a car investor. I buy them, but I make money on them. This is an investment for me, and I'm making money by investing in these cars. Really? And then he told one person he had sued his father-in-law to get access to a trust fund, and that's how he got the money. Then he said he had a bunch of expensive watches that his dad had collected over the years, and he made money selling those. So he always had some sort of excuse about how he was able to do all these things. Fly around on this fancy jet and wear these Italian leather shoes and show up in these gorgeous watches. He had even asked the accounting clerk, the same one that was investigating him, can you put this watch in the safe for me? She put 2 watches in the safe for him, and she went home and she looked up the watch on the computer. She Googled the watch to see how much it was worth, and it was a $30,000 watch. Yeah, sitting in their safe. So he's on the run. Now the FBI is investigated. They've gone to his home. They've confiscated everything they can confiscate. And then they hire an attorney whose job it is to help the bakery now, the Fruitcake company, of course, the Collin Street Bakery, get that $17 million back. So this attorney's job is to investigate and find out where all the money was going and try to get all that stuff and get it sold and get the bakery money back. So the FBI is investigating this, and they get a call one day from the Austin Police Department. And the police department says, you know, are you guys investigating somebody by the name of Sandy Jenkins? And they said, well, yeah, as a matter of fact, we are. How, you know, why are you asking? And they said, well, we had an off-duty police officer from that worked at the college campus, you know, and he was out hiking with his friend, and they were walking around this lake, and they saw something shiny at the edge of this lake, and they go look, and it's this watch, this gorgeous watch. So they picked it up, and then they continued down the shoreline, and they kept picking up jewelry and watches from the shore. They ended up with 16 watches by the time they finished their little hike. So this police officer, he's like, whoa, something's going on here. So he takes the watches, because he and his friend, they go home, they look up, and they see how expensive these watches are. Or it could be, you know, they don't know if they're real or not. So he goes and he turns them in to the Austin Police Department. So the Austin Police Department says they call, I think I did the wrong stitch here. The Austin Police Department calls Rolex because there's a serial number on one of the watches. First they take them to a jeweler and they authenticate, and they find out that, yes, all of these watches are real. So they call Rolex and they give them the serial number off one of the watches, and it came back to this Sandy Jenkins. So then they hired divers to go into this lake. By the time the divers were through in this lake, they had found 1 gold bar, some gold coins, and 38 watches in total. Yeah. Crazy. So apparently Sandy Jenkins had gone to this lake and just dumped the watches in the lake. Dumped all this jewelry in the lake. I can't even thread a needle. Good Lord. I'm trying to craft while I'm talking to you. Let's get this thing threaded. There we go. Come on. What are you doing? Okay, I got it. Yeah, where were we? Okay, here we are, right here. What you want, buddy? So now the FBI decides, you know what? We've got to go back to this house and see if there's anything left in this house. So they get another warrant, and they go back to Sandy Jenkins' home in Corsicana. When they get there, he's there. Now, the reason he probably was in Austin dumping those watches is because his grown daughter lived in Austin. So he likely fled to go, he and his wife fled to go visit their daughter. You would think if you had embezzled $17 million, you would leave the country. Nobody was stopping him. He had a passport, but no. And now he visits his daughter, and he goes back home. So he's there at the house when the FBI shows up. So they weren't prepared at that point to arrest him, because they didn't think that he would be there. I mean, it was a complete surprise to them. So they told him why they were there, and he said okay, and he was arrested. So he hires this fancy Southern lawyer from Texas, and advises, tells the guy, I'm accused of embezzling $17 million. And the guy's like, whoa, So he actually works out a deal where because he wants to confess. He's like, I'll confess. He says, I'll tell you everything. He says, you know, you might as well confess because you don't got any friends. Where are you going to go? You know, you might as well just start doing your jail time because nobody in this town likes you. And where are you going to go? So you might as well just confess. So he confesses everything. He sits down with the FBI and confesses the entire thing, shows them how he did it. And, you know, now they're trying to trace the money. So they actually ask him, you know, what did you do with all this jewelry? Why did you throw it in the lake? He's like, I don't know. It was probably the stupidest thing I've ever done. And then he looks at me and he goes, well, maybe it was the second stupidest thing I've ever done. So he said he threw 2 of them in the trash can. 2 of them that were platinum, not gold, platinum watches in the trash can. Both of them worth in excess of $72,000. Puts it in the trash can. So the attorney that was questioning him says, hey, can you draw me a map to that trash can? So I don't think they ever found those watches. There's some conjecture in this town that that they never found everything, that the Sandy Jenkins and his wife hid a lot of this stuff. So he gets, you know, once he's arrested, his wife divorces him. Like, I didn't know anything about this. You know, so she divorces him. So then they start investigating her. And they find out, you know, that after they'd gone back to the house, you know, she must have known, because she's saying, oh, I didn't know how much he made a year. I had no idea. And I didn't know how much he was spending on all this stuff. And even all their friends said this is the woman who wore the pants in this family, clearly. There's no way she didn't know. And then they remember when they went through on the first search warrant, they found those detailed journals with everything that she had acquired and how much she had paid for it, or he had paid for it. She had written it all down. So of course she knew about it. So then they find when they had purchased the house in Santa Fe, they had applied for a mortgage, and on the application for the mortgage, it said that Sandy, her husband at the time, made $25,000 a month. So she knew, she had knowledge of what he made. So they charged her. They charged both her and her ex-husband with money laundering and conspiracy to commit fraud because of that, because of the mortgage application. So they ended up selling the house so the proceeds could go back to the bakery. They sold the house to this older lady for $197,000, which the realtor says was market value at the time. And then the bakery decided they wanted to take possession of all of what the FBI had acquired, the watches, the jewelry, and all of the stuff that was in the home, and try to get the money back themselves. Because usually they had hired this attorney that was her job to recover as much money as she could for them, by confiscating all the cars, but the bakery said, no, we'll do it. Just give the stuff to us and we'll do it. So they decided they're going to have an estate sale, and they charged people $5 to come into the house, look through the house, at like a big garage sale, and purchase whatever they wanted, name your price. So people were like lined up around the block to get into this house. First of all, most people just wanted to see the inside of this house, the extravagance of the inside of this house. Upstairs, this man, Sandy Jenkins, and they think they lived in separate bedrooms, so they never figured out whose it was, but he had a $38,000 horsehair mattress. What? First of all, I never even heard of that. It had to be the most expensive mattress I've ever heard of. $38,000 horsehair mattress. But somebody bought it. Someone bought it. Oh my God. And a lot of people commented that the stuff in the house was just ugly. You know, like the paintings were, you know, like if you've got $17 million, this is what you buy. This stuff is ugly. But they would have like cabinet after cabinet of crystal vases and all these things that went up for sale. So people came in and bought it. So they were able to, between the FBI, the attorney trying to recover that money, and the estate sale that the bakery had, and the owner of the bakery, you know, all these people standing in line, he's going up and down the line handing out cookies from the bakery saying, hey, spend as much money as you can, please, you know, 'cause they wanted their money back. So out of the 17 million, they only recovered about 5 million of it. And they said this as often happens in money laundering cases because a lot of the money is spent on travel and consumption. And they said in this case, it was just gluttonous consumption, that these people, you know, were traveling to these places. You know, they did a lot of traveling, 3-4 times a month. They were traveling and, you know, having these extravagant meals and drinks and, you know, all this stuff that, you know, obviously cannot be recovered. So Kay maintains her innocence. She wants a trial. She's like, I am innocent. I didn't know all this was going on. I didn't know where the money was coming from. But in the end, her attorney talked her into taking a deal, and she got 5 years probation. Now, her husband, Sandy Jenkins, he is sentenced to 10 years probation. No, 10 years in jail. I'm sorry. He's sentenced to 10 years in jail. She gets 5 years probation. Didn't seem fair or equitable at all. And the owner of the company, the Fruitcake company, Bob McNutt, had sent the judge a letter, you know, imploring the court to impose the maximum sentence, which clearly did not happen. And on the day of the sentencing, all of the executives from the bakery and, you know, and all these interested people, they all get in a limo. They drive to where the courthouse is to see the sentencing. They get out of the limo and they sit in the courtroom. This Sandy Jenkins never even looks at any of them. He doesn't turn around. He doesn't look at any of them. They all, you know, they just want some kind of reaction from him, you know, maybe an apology, maybe, but nothing. He didn't offer any of that. So he goes and he's serving his time in jail. And he did write a letter to the owner, Bob, at one point, Bob McNutt. He did write him a letter apologizing. Then he got a phone call, Bob McNutt got a phone call from Sandy Jenkins apologizing. And then the next day, Sandy Jenkins committed suicide in jail. Now, I found articles on him committing suicide, but none of them detailed, you know, how he did it or why. But we expect, you know, after that point, he had all of their friends, they bought friends. Their friends were vendors, you know, car dealers, people that would come and show them the jewelry. So they had no friends left in this small town. Their family had broken apart. It was just devastating, just devastating. That is the great Fruitcake caper. But the company went on. The company it still goes on today. You can go on Amazon, like I said. You can look up Collin Street Bakery, Fruitcakes. And like I said, if you got $38 you want to spend on a 1.5 pound fruitcake, this size right here, you can spend it. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. So I'm cross-stitching my little heart out here. I'm trying to figure what line am I on. Okay. So that is my story, and I'm sticking to it. I hope you enjoyed that story. I love Fruitcake. You know, Johnny Carson is the one that gave Fruitcake a bad name. he goes on his show, and he and Ed McMahon, remember Ed McMahon? They're joking about fruitcake, and he says, you know, there's only one fruitcake in the entire world, and we put it up in our closet, and it stays there for the whole year, and then you go and you get it out, and you give it to somebody else, and then they put it up in the closet for a year, and then they give it to, and it's just the same fruitcake that goes all over the world. So, clearly Johnny Carson did not like fruitcake. I happen to love fruitcake. I would have loved to have tried this $38 fruitcake, because they say it is just delicious. If you don't enjoy it, you can get your money back. But I'm not prepared to spend $38 on a fruitcake. This one cost me $10, which I was in shock, you know, because ingredients now are so expensive. The nuts, the fruit, can't even find the fruit. Like I said, I was going to bake it myself and send some to some of my subscribers who also like fruitcake. Couldn't do it. So instead, today I'm baking chocolate chip cookies. Yep, I am. So don't forget to join the Ticket to Ride event, where I will be diamond painting. I've already kitted it up, the Notre Dame Knights painting from Diamond Art Club. This is an event that is sponsored by Diamond Art Club. They are going to be giving away several gift cards at the end of the event, but then we've got other sponsors that are that you can put your tickets. You're going to be earning tickets through puzzles and scavenger hunts and various ways to earn tickets, and you can put those tickets to whatever prize you want, whatever sponsor you want. If you want I can't tell you what the prizes are, but if you want a particular prize, you can put all your tickets on one prize. It's an interesting event, I got to tell you. So if you want to join the event, go to the Facebook group that's down in the description, Ticket to Ride Destination Paris, and join up, where you'll find all the information. I hope you guys have a wonderful Christmas. It's almost 8 a.m. and now it's time to get the coffee going. Yes, well, if you just listened to my fruitcake story, I hope you did have some coffee already. But now you got your coffee. Now it's time to open presents, because they're just calling your name. They're sitting there under the tree, or maybe you opened them on Christmas Eve, or maybe you didn't get any presents. That's okay too, because it's not about presents, is it? It's about the spirit of Christmas. It's about enjoying time with family and loved ones. And that's the part I enjoy about Christmas. Just sharing I have time off from work. I get to spend time with my kids, my family. That's what's important about this day. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you stay tuned to the next premiere, and I will see you all in my show, Crafting and Crime Daily. We're covering a new trial starting January 3rd. That one you're not going to want to miss. So I hope to see you there. Take care, everybody. Bye.